This was an interesting assignment for me, and a little difficult to find answers from my perspective, because this is the first year in the building, or in the district, for me. And so even though we're in February, still learning things about where your school stands, and kind of how the processes are going about. So it was a little bit of a guesswork on my part. I visited with our school principal, and the first thing he mentioned when I brought up the KESA framework was that, hey, we're at the very beginning of this. He was a little non-committal in terms of where they were going to assess everything, because they hadn't even gone through everything as a building leadership team. He said they had just completed the relationships rubric as a leadership team, in terms of just trying to figure out where the language, what the language meant, and so then they could adequately assess where they felt like they were at as a building. So I tried to get him, hey, just give me a ballpark what you think from just an overview of what you looked at. Going through this, it was interesting to find in terms of where I felt we were at as a building and what he said. The first one with relationships, I felt, being from a smaller community, I thought we were kind of a model example of where we should be at, or where schools should be at. And it was interesting because he felt the other way. He felt we were kind of at the implementing stage in the KESA framework. He said, he wanted to improve communication with parents in the community, and so that was something he was still working on. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I felt like there was a pretty strong tie between the community, between parents, being in a smaller school, but that was something he felt and the leadership team felt that needed to improve. In terms of the relevance, he felt like we were kind of in a transition to modeling, and I felt like we were kind of in a transition area in the relevance category. The responsiveness, he felt transition to modeling, and I felt the same with that in terms of responsiveness culture. And in the rigor, I felt that was going to be one of our lower areas. And the reason I believe that is just you're just constantly in the process of improving, making what you're teaching kids more real world applicable. And that was kind of what he said as well. He felt like we were implementing to transitioning with the rigor side of things. I asked him, hey, what do you think the benefit of the KESA framework was going to be? And I think his phrase was, it was going to be a method for ongoing school improvement that is reasonable, valid, and can be carried out with fidelity. I kind of get the feeling there's a little uncertainty with all this and how things are going to progress forward. But he liked the fact that, hey, everybody's going through this, we're all in this together, and it's going to help improve and help people to be accountable, I guess, in kind of the same method in the same areas. But the difficult thing was trying to understand all the language with it, and everybody's definition for the different phrases, and how that related to their school or to their building. So overall, an interesting thing. It's going to be a lot of work going forward, because you have to get the opinions, I think, of so many people and get their ideas and try and mesh that all together. So overall, kind of as a review, relationships, felt like we were implementing relevance, we were transitioning to modeling, responsiveness transition to modeling, and rigor, which was our lowest area, he felt like was implementing to transitioning. I felt very similar to all those except for the relationship side. I was going to give us a little bit higher mark than that. So overall, that's kind of where we stand as a district, or excuse me, as a school, and that's kind of my assessment. Thanks.